off. There were some light sprinkles. It started just as Donald Trump took the oath of office. Otherwise, it was a great day for America.
And this morning, the Trump family, they're having a slumber party at the White House.
Yeah.
They wake up this morning, they're waking up in new beds.
Where are we?
All at the White House.
It was just so perfectly choreographed, the way the family played the role. It was about the dad and, of course, Vice President Pence. But, again, the family was so supporting. Whether it was at the ball, whether it was at the Lincoln Memorial on Saturday, or, of course, tonight is the time that I don't have to work tomorrow, kids. You can make some noise.
Sure.
I'm really going to start on Monday, but my hunch is he's going to be doing a lot today.
Oh,
He
yeah.
promised to get to work, and he was already working.
Yeah.
Executive orders.
Kind of exciting.
Couple of them.
Couple of those, exactly. But then he had the balls last night.
He did.
was at the balls until about midnight.
We were all
11
up,
o'clock,
as
something
were
like that.
you.
I know. I know.
We were all up late dancing. Anyway, there's a new sheriff in town, and we got a recap of all of yesterday, if you missed
Right.
it.
Yep, 3 minutes after the top of the hour. We'll be here for just 3 hours and 57 minutes longer, so please run to your
We're here
TV.
for 4 hours. today.
After a
We're
night
getting
of
paid extra.
celebration, President Donald Trump ready to get to work this morning in his first official day as President of the United States.
Kristen Fisher is live in front of President Trump's new residence, the White House. Good morning to you, Kristen.
Good morning, guys. So today, President Donald Trump will be waking up inside the White House, if he's not already up yet, for the very first time. And his first order of business today is he's going to be heading to the National Cathedral to attend the inaugural prayer service. And then this afternoon, he's going to make his way to Langley, where he's expected to make remarks at the CIA. Now, that is especially significant given the fact that he's been so critical of the intelligence community in recent days, of course. So it is expected to be a very busy day. Even though it's a Saturday, Mr. Trump going to get right down to work. Though yesterday, far more busy, Mr. Trump ended his inauguration day by attending 3 inaugural balls. I was actually at one of them, and without a doubt, the moment of the night was when the new president walked out on stage with his first lady for their very first dance. And it was to a song that really captured the spirit of his candidacy and his new administration, My Way.
And more, much more than this, I did it my way.
After attending the Liberty Ball and the Freedom Ball, Mr. Trump then made his way to the Salute Our Armed Services Ball.
And I wish you joy and happiness.
Whole family up there on stage with him, and you know, at every stop his message was the same. This is about you, not me. And to that end, he asked for the crowd's advice on one very important question.
And we're going to have a lot of things happen, and you're going to read about them, and I don't know. Let me ask you, should I keep the Twitter going or not? Keep it going? I think so. The enemies keep saying, oh, that's terrible, but you know, it's a way of bypassing dishonest media, right?
So I think that was a yes. I think he's going to keep the Twitter going. You agree, Brian, Nancy, and Steve?
That's right. Thank you very much. He's already got a new Twitter handle. It's at POTUS, and I think he's at 7 million followers. But it's early. It's only 6:05 Eastern time on day one. First full day of the Trump presidency.
That's right. We all did go to some balls last night.
Yep.
I think we want to show you guys some pictures of our evenings. That's my friend Olivia. She and her husband. He goes hunting with Don Jr., so they're friends, and we're invited by them. Geraldo was there, Sean Hannity. We were actually on Sean Hannity's show last night, and they're both coming on this show today.
And by the way, you did a great job last night. It
Thank
looked
you.
fantastic, and this looked like this was great. And how weird was it that
Kristen and Alyssa,
Donald Trump
they
appeared right
work
away,
for
right?
Sean Hannity's show.
Okay, so Ainsley was
Yes,
at the
right.
Freedom Ball. I was at the Liberty Ball. That is my government lawyer daughter, Mary Ducey, and we actually got to dance, which was great.
Aww.
That's where I was for the inauguration. So I was firsthand able to see the sprinkles and hear the lock her up and the people who booed Schumer. We also had a couple other pictures, I guess we're not going to show them right now.
Brian.
Yeah, the American Legion ball took place. This was actually started during Eisenhower years. Is
that Rascal Flatts?
Rascal Flatts was here. And Gary was kind enough to come over and talk to us. It was hosted by Drew Carey, who is a Marine. and he was the MC and was absolutely hysterical. I did meet Mike Flynn thanks to the magic of barricades and blockages. He was there early. I'm dying to talk to him. He's been a great friend of the show. So
Yeah.
his book came out. Now he's got a very important job. A little bit later on, we'll bring you inside what happened there.
Fantastic. All right. Of course, all eyes and ears were on a podium just about a mile and a half behind us. It was Donald Trump's inaugural address. Some have depicted it as a campaign speech. And you know what? It probably was. He's still campaigning to get what he wants done for America. If you missed it, here are the highlights.
Today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs. And while they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you. We are one nation, and their pain is our pain. Their dreams are our dreams, and their success will be our success. We share one heart, one home, and one glorious destiny. The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. So to all Americans in every city, near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words. You will never be ignored again. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way.
So it was one of the shortest inaugurals ever, at least in decades. It was right to the point. And what's creating controversy around is we say in America first, and a lot of our allies, I guess, would say, wait, what about us? He's just emphasizing America first morally when it comes to the economy. And some would point to the fact that manufacturing is up and unemployment is down. What is he talking about? What he's talking about is when he went out to the people, the reality of what they're experiencing does not add up to the numbers. And if you don't believe me, look at who won the election and look at where they won. Everyone should stop questioning what he's saying and understanding the people spoke and gave him the job.
You're right. Look at the Rust Belt states. They usually go Democrat, voted Republican, and that's the first time since the 1980s that's happened in a presidential election.
Sure, absolutely. A lot of Americans feel like, hey, Washington doesn't care about me. They care about people in other countries. Donald Trump made it very clear. American first. Hire American, buy American. Meanwhile, if you were watching American media outlets last night, while many Americans heard that as an optimistic clarion call, a lot of the legacy media, man, oh man, a dark day for America with Donald Trump as the new commander-in-chief. Watch this.
I think it's fair to say this is one of the most radical inaugural speeches we've ever heard.
When he said today, America first, it was not just the racial, I should say racial, the Hitlerian background to it.
I have to say it was surprisingly divisive for an inaugural address. That wasn't the type of inaugural address that was intended to bring this country together.
It carries with it overtones from the 1930s when an anti-Semitic movement saying we don't want to get involved in Europe's war. It's the Jews' fault in Germany.
Wow.
Okay, that's quite
Anti-Semitic.
that's some real analysis.
Right.
What?
So anyway, keep in mind their candidate, the political and media left, left town yesterday.
Meanwhile, only 4% of Washington, D.C. voted for Donald Trump. That's why they're not supportive, and that's why they didn't attend. Meanwhile, when we talk about what Donald Trump's going to be doing today, we know he already signed in 2 members of his cabinet, swore him in, thanks to Vice President Pence. We also know he's already signed an order to ease the burden of Obamacare and freeze all new regulations.
Good.
It didn't stop Barack Obama from signing another, I think, 1,500 new executive orders before he left.
Well, I was talking to Congressman Steve King yesterday, who said he had written a bill, so that in one bill they could undo every single one of Barack Obama's regulation by fiat with one signature. Is the House going to pass it? Stay tuned. It's just day
Well, he
one.
said he was going to Washington to get to work, and that's exactly
right.
what he did on day one.
He is.
All right. Meanwhile, let me tell you what's happening at 13 minutes after the hour. Straight ahead, violent protests did erupt overnight, and more protests, I guess, are set for today. But our next guest vows to protect the president with a wall of meat.
Yep, indeed. Plus, mainstream media may be panning President Trump's inaugural address. What did the people who put him in office think about it? Lee Carter has some brand new tiles, and she's with us next.
But first, here's the president and the first lady dancing to My Way at the Liberty Ball.
And singing along.
I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention.
His first speech as Commander-in-Chief, there it is. So what did Americans think of President Trump's inaugural address? And that's where he gave it. Here to break it all down for us is the president and partner at Maslansky and Partners, Lee Carter. Lee, it's hard to break down 60 minutes all at once in this short time.
It is.
So how do you break it down with the first soundbite?
Well, the first soundbite was really about Trump giving the country back to the people, and that was a theme that he had throughout. So let's take a look at how people reacted to it.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the people.
Now, this was a fantastic speech, according to all the voters that we spoke to.
Right.
Republicans gave it an A+.
Even for the Democrats.
A B+. Even the Democrats there, you could see, pretty much flatlined all the way across. People are panning it, saying it was not traditional, that it was negative. That's not what the people heard. The people that I spoke to, over 1,000 people got this message last night, and they said, you know what? We want the government back. This was all about giving government back to the people, taking it away from the establishment, and
Drain the swamp.
Drain the swamp. And people who are missing that are missing what his message is. And it's, do that at your own peril. That's what I think.
Lee, we've reported so much about what's happening in Chicago, and he touched on crime in our country, gangs, drugs. He said we're going to stop the American carnage. Listen to this, and then we'll talk about it.
The crime and the gangs and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
Now, there was a lot of criticism.
Critics hate that word. The critics
Hated the word carnage. A lot of people said this was so negative, but look at the results there. You saw Republicans and independents off the charts. Democrats even get a C-. People are concerned about the direction of this country. They want change. They want our politicians to address it. They want something new. And so, yes, there's a lot of people opposed to Donald Trump. There is no question, but this speech actually resonated with the American voter.
I got a feeling Barack Obama, who was sitting about 10 feet away from him, probably would disagree, but he didn't get a talk. However, one thing that
didn't dial it with him.
That's right. One thing that Donald Trump does say that the former administration wouldn't is he would actually call it radical Islam. And when he mentioned that, watch the dials.
We will shine for everyone to follow. We will reinforce old alliances and form new ones and unite the civilized world against radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth.
It went so high I couldn't even see the red line.
That's right. Republicans off the charts, even independents. And you can see Democrats even gave this a C. Now, not a huge mark, but much better than we saw even through the primaries, all the way through the election. He had an excellent day with the American people, and that's something that everyone in the media and everyone in establishment needs to understand.
Right.
All right.
Lee. Coming up, violent protests erupting overnight, including one man being shot. Today, more protests are expected, but our next guest vows to protect the president with a wall of meat.
Yeah, plus it was a night of celebrations, and I got a first-hand look inside the Veterans Ball, where our celebrity stars met our military all-stars. I hope you don't miss it.
Good morning to you from Washington, D.C. Have a quick look at your headlines now. And we start with a Fox News alert. A suspected cop killer in critical condition after trying to take his own life following a 7-hour standoff on a bridge in New Orleans. Sylvester Holt was wanted for the murder of Michael Louvier, a police officer, and his estranged pregnant ex-wife. Mexico's most famous drug lord, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, pleading not guilty for his first U.S. court appearance since being extradited. He's being held in a New York City jail that's the same jail where mafia boss John Gotti and terrorists have been kept. Anti-Trump protests turning violent. A 32-year-old is in critical condition after being shot on the University of Washington's campus in Washington state. That suspect has turned himself in. Elsewhere, thousands taking to the streets denouncing the new administration. Protests especially violent in Washington, D.C. 217 arrests, where buildings also vandalized and cars torched. And those are your headlines. I'll see you shortly. Brian, Stephen Ainsley.
Thank you very much. One of the protesters took some gold spray paint and wrote, "In God We Trust," on the side of that stretch limo. Destroyed the limo. Threw a can of gas in it. What are they thinking? At least 200 people have been arrested.
So mad because people work hard for their belongings.
Personal
and then
property.
Destroyed.
On a lighter note, where'd you go last night?
I went to the Liberty Ball.
Where'd you
Freedom
go?
Ball.
Okay, I had a chance to go to the Veterans Inaugural Ball, and it was great. The Vice President was there. He had celebrities there like Drew Carey, and he had a musical star like Gary LeVox of Rascal Flatts.
Sure.
But the real stars, the 42 Medal of Honor recipients that attended as well. Let's watch. The Veterans Inaugural Ball has been around since the 50s, and believe me, it's a great cause. Why else would you get the brand new Vice President of the United States to show up and big acts like Rascal Flatts to come here? But in the end, this is a ball. And people come here to have a ball, and they are having a ball.
Next organization has a special tribute from our Medal of Honor recipients.
What is it like here for you as a proud American?
Well, I mean, it's everything is here. Like there's protests, there's happy people, there's unhappy people. It's the best of democracy all mixed up into one thing. It's exciting to see.
What does it mean to have that around your neck?
I'm wearing it for those who didn't come back.
The medal it's harder to wear than it was to earn. So we wear it for veterans. We wear it for all the veterans in America.
Do you get a sense things are going to change for the better?
Absolutely.
In what way?
I think we're going to turn around and realize our nationalism again, what our country stands for, where we belong.
I will stand by.
Being in this room with so many American heroes, it was a privilege to be here.
How do you explain country music and patriotism? Why are they so linked?
We like to sing about what's real, and we're so proud of our country. And no matter what side of the fence you're on, we're Americans, and we're so proud of it.
But with Donald Trump, you could always count on talking about veterans and a wall. This combines both here at the American Legion. You have 641,000 poppies. You know what they signify? Each one of the American men and women who have lost their lives fighting for this country.
When you sit and reflect back all the friends that you've lost and all those poppies that are there representing that, it's just daunting. That's why we are here today, though. It's because of the sacrifices that those men and women made.
And with heroes in the audience, the second most powerful man in America showed up to salute them, Vice President Mike Pence.
I often think maybe it's altogether fitting that someone who has not worn the uniform would stop at an occasion like this and just make sure you all know that as we celebrate the peaceful transfer of power in America today, we know the real heroes are those of you that have worn the uniform.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. He's right.
And there were so many stories out there. A lot of people there to support. A lot of people have served. A lot of people decorated. And by the way, Drew Carey, he says when he signed up for the Marine Reserves, he changed his life. He said, I was sleeping on my brother's couch. I had no direction. It gave me a purpose. Next thing you know, he's the stand-up star.
Great.
He's hosting shows. Big man. And he actually owns part of the Seattle Sounders. Look at that.
Really?
Didn't
Vice
know that.
President Pence and his wife, they have a son that's in the Marines.
Sure.
So I'm sure this means a lot to them, especially. And the poppies, the red poppies represent.
Yeah, I don't know if I made that clear enough. Each of those poppies inside the roses represent all the people that lost their lives since World War I.
Sure,
Wow,
and
a lot
that's when
of
it
those.
started.
Yes, 641,000, sadly, plus.
All right.
But thanks to everybody that made that possible and everyone that put that together.
Very nice.
Rascal Flatts, love them. All right, the president says he's going to save our infrastructure by putting Americans back to work.
Building our country with American hands and American labor.
So will he be able to do it? Our political panel is here to discuss that next.
Okay, plus she showed up at the inauguration, but she still may be in trouble with the law. Why Hillary Clinton and her email investigation may be back on Capitol Hill.
Right. And they're going to arrest our pundits.
It is your shot of the morning. What, Brian?
Yeah, if you wonder why things get done on Fox and Friends, that's part of the nucleus of the staff that put it all together. There is Matt, there is AJ, there is Andrew Murray, who insisted on being on the outside, Samantha and Kelly and Kelly.
I think you're in there too, but you do no work. You just come here and read
Show
whatever's on the
up.
prompter.
And we couldn't get a shooter, so it looks like we went to the selfie.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's a fun job, and that's the staff that's had a great time last night.
Yeah, and keep in mind, these are the young folks who are the lifeblood of our program. They do everything that is needed for the show because we have a lot of
They
stuff.
do everything.
And they were up real late last night, but they're up real early today.
I mean,
so
with my
hats off to
demands
them.
alone, I need a snack.
I know,
Oh,
right?
we know. We know.
Your coffee
Is
and your
Mr.
makeup.
Gilmead's laundry ready? Yeah. Hurry up. You heard me.
They look so beautiful. They work so hard.
Everybody
it was nice
dressed
to see
up.
them get an opportunity to dress up and put on a ball gown.
A lot of fun.
They deserve it.
All right.
All right,
Meanwhile,
President Donald Trump laying out his agenda for his first 100 days in office, promising to improve America's infrastructure.
We will build new roads and highways and bridges and airports and tunnels and railways all across our wonderful nation. We will get our people off of welfare and back to work, rebuilding our country with American hands and American labor. We will follow two simple rules: buy American and hire American. We will seek friendship and goodwill with the nations of the world, but we do so with the understanding that it is the right of all nations to put their own interests first. We do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone, but rather to let it shine as an example.
Yeah, but will he be able to get all this done?
Our political panel is here to weigh in on this. Regional Press Secretary for Trump, inaugural and Washington Times columnist, former State Department press officer Morgan Ortagus. Guy, you've done a lot, Morgan.
we left out the first name. It's Madison Giussiano.
Oh, was that your title, Matt?
It
We
was.
left out
They
your
left out
name.
the-
I'm sorry.
Did we mention that the staff was up really late last night?
Then we have Morgan in the purple dresses, a friend of Fox, and then we have Chuck Rocha in the middle.
Good morning.
Hey, guys.
Morning, guys.
Good morning. Hi.
We made it.
Talking about infrastructure, talking about building roads, he wants to do all of this. Chuck, I'll start with you. Can he do this?
You know, it's interesting. I spent a lot of last year traveling around with a 74-year-old senator from Vermont who talked a lot about infrastructure. There's a lot of Democrats on the Hill who realize that this is something that we can put people back to work. We can invest into our infrastructure so commerce can move easily up and down the highways. I do think it's a commonality that we can figure out how to pay for it. It would be something easily done.
Keep in mind, you were traveling around with the socialists.
Absolutely
So the price didn't matter.
We look conservative.
But, Madison, this is one of the things that people who supported Trump love, because for too long, you know, nobody's paid attention to us. Now we're going to pay attention to us and our roads and our bridges and our airports.
Yeah, I think the promise to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure is something that every single American will benefit from. But what I think we need to keep in mind is it's not something that needs to be done only with taxpayer dollars. And what they've been talking a lot about is the fact that we can get, you know, companies and people to invest in this and then give them a federal, you know, tax break.
So a private public bank, I mean, are we talking about that possibly, Morgan?
I think that potentially, but I think you have to look at this not just as the infrastructure plan. Like, you have to look at what am I going to do the first 100 days? And I think that we should look at this with the tax reform package that he's looking at as well, right?
Good.
When you look at entitlements, the reform that we need to have there. So I think, yes, we can get something passed in 100 days, but it also needs to be looked at in the broader context of what this administration is trying to do. Right. Radical change when it comes to the tax plan, and we're going to have to get these entitlements under control.
Chuck, the other problem is we heard about the shovel-ready projects. An $800 billion check was written, and even the president admitted there were none. If you just say get the infrastructure done without a specific mandate from state to state, what's going to be built, something tangible, this would be a political disaster for this president.
I think it could be, but I think that what you need is a real evaluation of where are the projects that have the most critical needs, the bridges, right? Remember years ago.
We didn't do that 8 years ago.
Exactly right. And I would agree with that as a Democrat, but I think that's the key to that, is focus on those places that need it the worst, and then you back up from there, and while you're doing that, guess what? I've built things in my life. I used to pour concrete. Look at the other things that need to be fixed along the way, and these are getting ready while you start working on the bridges that are in the worst shape now.
I used to pour concrete too, Chuck.
Absolutely. Always look at that. Things in common.
Morgan, you mentioned the word radical. So did Donald Trump yesterday. He said he wants to eradicate radical Islam. What were your thoughts?
I think that it's really important to actually say the name of your enemy. When you're going into the boxing ring, right, you need to know who you're going to fight. But saying the name only is not what's going to deliver the knockout punch. So we're going to have to look at what we're going to do in Iraq and Syria. We've made gains against ISIS over the past few months, for sure. But we look at why did we get to this place in the first place? We have Sunni Arab allies who are funding radical messages around the world, and we're going to have to talk to them and say this can no longer be tolerated.
And Madison, before we go, his speech yesterday touched a lot of people's hearts. Optimistic they are about the next 4 years. What do you think?
I thought the speech was absolutely incredible, and I think what it really hit on was a lot of the messages which we actually at the Presidential Inaugural Committee tried to reflect. We have a president-elect, who's now our president today, who has a desire to unify this nation. He has a desire to make America great again and just really bring people together, and I think that's what that reflected.
And real brief, Chuck, they were saying that Bernie Sanders could have delivered some of that speech. That's how similar that was, right?
I watched a lot of Bernie Sanders speeches over the last 13 months while I was there, and a lot of it was the same. Not all of it, but there's commonality, and I think that's when we start building these concrete bridges.
All right. Chuck Rocha, who spent a quiet day at home last night crying in his beer. Also, Madison and Morgan, thank you very much for joining.
Crying in his beer.
Why?
I like the beer.
Yeah, I know
another
you do.
girl who likes
the beer and the barbecue.
Some beer and liquor and wine is Janice.
Not
Good morning to you,
before she does her
Janice.
What? What are you talking about? Where's
it was
the
in
bar?
the prompter, Janice.
Is there a bar
She's
still
talking
open?
about she's talking about the fog that we're in, but it's actually real fog.
It truly is. Just north and west of D.C., we have fog advisories, so people are urged to kind of stay off the roads. It's as thick as pea soup, as they say. But I want to talk about the rest of the country because we have the potential for tornadoes today across portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and into the Florida Panhandle, where we have tornado watches in effect, and parts of western Alabama right now. Tornado warnings, and this is going to be ongoing throughout the afternoon and into tomorrow because we have the potential for severe weather, and that's going to be, again, ongoing throughout the day and tomorrow. You can see where we have the slight risk and then the enhanced risk where we think all of the ingredients are going to come together for tornadoes. So that's the big headline today as we go through the afternoon and into tomorrow, and then we might even have a nor'easter to talk about on Monday, so a lot of weather to cover, certainly live from D.C. And Heather, I will toss to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Praised Army deserter Sergeant Bo Bergdahl now demanding release from prison, saying former President Obama turned down his request before leaving office. His defense lawyer is filing a new motion to dismiss charges. They say that President Trump's criticism of him on the campaign trail, well, that would prevent Bergdahl from receiving a fair trial.
He was a deserter. He was a dirty, rotten deserter.
Well, Bergdahl faces life in prison for abandoning his post in Afghanistan. The U.S. traded 5 of the Taliban's worst for his return. The election is over, but the investigation continues. Utah Congressman Jason Chaffetz posting this photo on social media of him greeting Hillary Clinton after the inauguration. He writes, quote, "So pleased she's not president. I thanked her for her service and wished her luck. The investigation continues." Chaffetz spearheaded a congressional investigation into Clinton's controversial